The Manosphere Trinity. Now, the Manosphere Trinity consists of three groups: the MRAs, the men's rights advocates, the PUAs, the pickup artist community, and the MGTOWs, the men going their own way. Now, thanks to the erudite knight, I was able to gain a better understanding of these groups, and like him, I do have my preferences. Just as an aside, to cite the erudite knight, I will say that most of this post is based on his reasoning, and it is he who inspired me to make this post. So, why is an understanding of the Trinity so important? Well, it is important because all men need to understand which other men out there are truly behind them, and which men will eventually betray them and throw them under the bus. So on whole, manosphere men can discount outright all blue pill men still stuck in the matrix. We can also discount white knights outright too. All these men are against us from the start and will not help prevent the destruction of society. They will only help it. So now on to the Manosphere Trinity. The Trinity, in the Trinity, there are the MRAs, the PUAs, and the MGTOWs. I will address each of these groups in order of level of betrayal. First, there are the PUAs. These men are probably the most detestable of all Manosphere red pillars, though they do have their purpose and they do have some knowledge. Wisdom, probably not wisdom, but they do have knowledge of what women want in a man and how to use it to the end of sex. I would first say that any man, or people for that matter, whose life and thoughts center on sex are perhaps totally useless. PUAs, or Black Knights as I prefer, whose lives center on women. Their whole lives center on women. Their choice of job, or even lack of a job, is used or twisted to make it seem like they are constantly getting one up on other men. So, as far as Manosphere red pillars are concerned, Black Knights will openly betray you and twist your character and your characteristics to the end of getting them sex. They will throw any man under a bus at any time to the end of sex, simply at the drop of a hat, and simply to gain sexual access to a woman they have no intention of being loyal to. So, in fact, these men are the worst possible people for all involved, men and women, other men, even women, the Matrix, and society as well. Their purpose is quite clear to me, though. They give women what women want, and then eventually burn these women and burn society. Eventually, until everyone gets to the point where all we have are baby daddies, criminals, etc., getting laid. These Black Knights eventually do something stupid, like sleeping with the wrong guy's wife, their boss's wife, their best friend's girlfriend, or whatever, then wind up getting their lives destroyed and becoming a burden on society, usually in the form of unemployment, but not excluding something like criminal behavior, etc. None of these actions or none of these consequences will stop their pussy begging. So in the end, Black Knights should be avoided on a personal level at all times. They will throw any person under a bus to the end of their pussy begging. As a side note, I'm also working on a video about Black Knights thinking for and like a woman so often that they eventually morph their own minds into the minds of a woman. They listen and actually believe gossip. They distort facts to fit their desired perceptions or ends. They engage in various social medias and play the game of telephone on these social medias so often that they believe nothing else but gossip and lies. They eventually wind up lying, cheating, stealing, using, and abusing both women and men. And in the end, they wind up making whole stories based entirely on lies and distortions to the ultimate end of stroking their frail egos, ironically demonstrating themselves as frail and fragile in self-esteem and ego as the very women they claim to gain. But there you go. There you have your Black Knights, your PUAs. Um, uh, they're useful for certain data sets, but not really beneficial to anyone else but themselves. They openly claim this. They're selfish, narcissistic, almost sociopathic, and their only goal is pussy. I will say any man who qualifies his existence by notches on a belt is quite possibly not even a human being. Um, but moving on to the Manosphere Trinity. Second in the Trinity, we have the MRAs, or the men's rights advocates. Now, these men are probably the most beneficial as far as society goes. They are, like the erudite knight claims, probably all men that have gotten severely burned in the divorce court system, or men that are too smart and well educated to simply give up on the blue pill matrix system that they were brought up in. They actually believe the matrix can be reprogrammed, right? Instead of just abandoned to the end of its own destruction. They probably have children, and most certainly love their children more than they love sex, as per the above group, the Black Knights. So the MRAs are fighting not only for themselves and other men, but to the end of helping men to have access to raising their children. And this helping other men raise their children is ultimately to the end of a better society, thus propagating and propping up the matrix system. This is probably the MRA's best advantage relative to the other manosphere men. They're actively trying to help other men politically, legally, socially, and philosophically to the ultimate end of helping to preserve society. They have admirable goals compared to the Black Knights because at least they act in ways that are altruistic and beneficial to others. As for their betrayal level, I agree with the erudite knight that they are one good-looking female away. These MRAs typically are one good-looking female away from throwing all their hard work under a bus. There are MRAs like John the Other, who have wives, or a wife, pardon me, John, and are still fighting the good fight. But whether or not these men find a actual Nawalt, or are simply displaying the leadership qualities their women desire of them, is actually irrelevant for manosphere men. Most MRAs, in my opinion, will betray any man once they get back some semblance of the life they had before they were unwillingly fed the blue pill or the red pill. I have noticed that many men that were forced to swallow the red pill leap to the MRAs, but once they realize that many in the modern world mock men's rights issues and will openly laugh at a men's rights march, they quickly either vomit the red pill back up and blue pill it, or they run to try and be a Black Knight. Most MRAs would gladly throw society under a bus simply to have their lives back. So they are to be trusted more than Black Knights, but not as much as MGTOWs. Now finally on to MGTOWs. Now, these men are probably the most loyal of the Trinity. They may snipe at you, much like others did in school when you were younger, but in general, they are on your team. Uh, they were never really totally in the Matrix to begin with, and all of them felt as if there was something wrong with the world around them uh, their whole lives. So when the red pill was given to them, they suffered very little trauma and actually felt much better about their lives relative to the Matrix reality they were exposed to as a child. This is because they never liked the Matrix to begin with. Most of them were never accepted much by the ladies. The few that had plenty of female affection got that affection from women that were never happy with the Matrix either, or had good female family members and friends as role models or as comparative cohorts uh, to the women they saw around them. So many MGTOWs do not hate women, regardless of how the feminist organizations wish to portray MGTOW. And most MGTOWs simply feel an indifference towards women and women's place in society. Many MGTOWs look at men that still try to live up to women's expectations as men that have not yet experienced the full force of women's lack of satiation. Many MGTOWs see men with women. These men laugh at other men that don't have women. Maybe even those men pity men without women. These men do not know that the woman that feeds them the "you are more of a successful man than him" crap is only feeding him that crap until she sees or finds a man that is more successful or more of a douchebag to jump to. Then she will feed the new guy her crap, and the old guy will finally feel the sting of her insatiable hunger. Most MGTOWs feel nothing towards any of these two groups, the blue pill man or the woman in general, knowing full well in time that all men feel the sting that a woman brings. So, as far as trusting men in the manosphere, all men should trust and love MGTOWs the most. Even in our mild apathy, our indifference, our fun loving ways, we will never throw a fellow man under a bus completely. MGTOWs do not desire female fans or allies, much like the PUAs or MRAs do. We do not want women to understand where we are coming from, because MGTOWs know that women will need to understand themselves first before understanding society at large and how men and women operate in it. One by one, men are walking away from a game that is now rigged against itself. Not just men or women, but the game is actually rigged against itself. The Matrix is a self-destructive program. And in the end, all men that walked away will one day be called back to rebuild, reconstruct, and restructure what they were asked to attend to in the first place. And many MGTOWs know this. So there it is, the Manosphere Trinity in all its glory. Take it for what you will. It is my opinion. And remember that we will discipline our own kind, gentlemen. That we will attend to our own backyard first. This will lead, one by one, to men going our way, their own way. And one by one, women will have to go back to taking care of their own business too. Remember, men, don't throw any man under a bus completely, because he will eventually get burned. He will eventually be fed the red pill. There are some men that are still stuck in the Matrix, still destroying other men's lives based on the lies women tell them. But once they see that not only are our lives getting destroyed, not only are they destroying their own lives too, but once all men realize, but they are destroying young children's homes. They will stop on their own. And when that happens, when that day finally comes, all men will start going our way. And then eventually, women will ask, I wonder what they are up to. And then on that day, things will be the way they are supposed to be. Yours truly, M.